And I think we're live now. Yes, we are live. So my computer's rendering. It's going slow. I decided to. I've been practicing my menfluential talk.
Okay.
Wondering how your sleep time is setting you back.
And so what I figured was I had a good idea. I was like, well, I was recording it back and forth because I have to do it in 25 minutes. So I was like, well, you know what I really should do is I should just record this for YouTube and then make a video out of it, right?
45 minutes?
25.
20. That's all. Okay. That's easy.
So I did a Bulldog Mindset, what is Bulldog Mindset, recorded the whole thing. And it's perfect for pitching the membership. Like, it is absolutely perfect for pitching the membership because it's all about what is the Bulldog Mindset, right? So I put a couple of pitches for the membership in there.
Is Antonio going to let you pitch?
I'm not going to pitch at actual Menfluential. There's no need to.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense, right? Like, even if you got like 5 members, it doesn't make sense.
You're much better off getting one coaching client than 5 members.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but this should be good. It'll be good video content. And, and actually, so I did a poll on the YouTube channel, right? Recently, like my last poll was, where is it? It's like, did you take advantage of joining the Bulldog Mindset membership, $7 trial, right? And one of the answers, in fact, the most popular answer was, because their answers was yes, no, I'm already a member. No, I can't afford $7 to try it out. No, I don't think it's right for me, and I'm going to sign up right now. So 44% of people said, no, I don't think it's right for me. And then some people had asked, I don't understand what it is, which, I would have thought that people would know what it is from the channel.
Here's my question. What about going Netflix on this?
Netflix on the membership?
Yeah. Free 2-week trial, or free 1-month trial, or $1 trial for 30 days or something, just to see how far this rabbit hole goes. Because $7 and $1 isn't really that different in terms of the lifetime value or the money you'll make. You're anyways going to lose money on that acquisition.
The issue is this. So, and it's already become somewhat of a problem, is it's a filter to some degree, right? Because, well, I could give someone like a free trial but not give them access to the Facebook group, but then they're not really getting and I mean, I could maybe couch it and say, hey, you have to actually convert over to paid in order to get access to the Facebook group. And we do this to shield people's personal private details and to make sure that only high quality committed people are in the group. But here's the videos and here's the other stuff. But I don't know if that's enough of a value.
So the thing, like, actually, this is what I was thinking about, because my coaching client has a similar problem. He has a $300 a month, right, accountability program, morning accountability program. And what he invariably right now, no matter what he tries to do with his sales page or anything, people just want to talk to him. And only after they talk to him do they sign up for it, right?
Right.
So it's kind of frustrating him, like, hey, I have to talk to people all the time to close this. I can't really close it directly. So I basically suggested him 2 options. One is to qualify them, basically have a call, which is all about qualification. It's like, apply to join, and only if they qualify do they get the possibility of, like, do they join, right? Do they get, and that will be a short 15-minute call. After they have watched a video, like a specific video explaining the whole thing. If they don't watch the video, the call is not scheduled, right?
Right.
So one is that. The other, I was thinking about it. The problem is that people are asking the same questions again and again. And I was like, well, answer them. And even though he answers them on the sales page, people still want to hear from him. So I'm like, I have a feeling that people are not clear on the value proposition. And what if you offered literally the first month for such a ridiculous price that people don't have to struggle through the idea of that value proposition, like, is it worth it or not worth it? And if you do that and people
Right.
join in, now they can evaluate if this was worth it or not after the first month. The key is to get them in and to get them to know that this is worth it, and then charge them money, because the first month is almost, it's like software. A lot of softwares offer 2 days to a month-long trial just so that you can try it and see if it is worth it. So the value in these things is rather not clear to people until they have tried it.
Yeah, I mean the problem though that I face is that, well, I mean $7 isn't a lot. So if you can't afford $7 to try it out, then that's, like I said, it's a good filter. But if I made it like a free trial, do you know how many?
Not free, $1. Like free trial is still putting in credit card.
Even if I made it $1, right? Like it has to be above the barrier of third world country who are emailing me and saying, sir, how can I join the membership for $1? Right? Because if I do that, that's what it will be bombarded with. It will be a bunch of people from third world countries who are there for literally for 1 month or the free or whatever it is, and are have no intention of, and can't even afford the monthly subscription, and they're just going to get as much stuff, or they're just signing up just because literally they're idiots and they're just signing up for shit. Like they don't even know what they're trying to do. So believe me.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, I'm sure you already considered that option, but if there was a way to test that option to see what happens, that's just one more data point.
Yeah, it would be nice to, like, if I mean, I don't know, if I
It's a
created
data
some kind
point.
of filter. Yeah.
Like $5 might be even better than $7, or $9 might be better than $7. We don't know. And I think I was thinking about how small pricing changes dramatically change the, like for Netflix, what they did was they tried so many different combinations to finally figure out what worked. And they kept on trying and kept on trying and kept on trying and kept on trying to finally figure out what stuck the best with their audience in terms of conversions and upsells and all those things. So
Yeah.
it's a testing process. And I was reading the book, Get Everything You Can Out of All You Got by Jay Ali.
Oh,
Have you read
dang,
it?
I haven't. That's on my list of one of the ones I really want to read. There's no
Yeah.
audio version, so
Yeah. So there's a chapter called How to Become a Marketing Genius,
yeah.
right? And he literally, like, he basically says something to the point, like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And he says it. He's like, well, the way to become a marketing genius is to test the fuck out of everything.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the only way, because the more testing you do, the more data points you have, the more you know the truth of what's working and what's not working. Everything else is a guess until you test, and the test yields the results, and then you know. He's like, he has literally seen uh, instances where $67 will outperform $37, 2 to 1, 3 to 1 in gross revenue, and other way around, depending on the product and the offering and the service and all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know, like, okay, so I don't know if that's really the leverage point that makes the most sense right now for Bulldog Mindset, right? So there's not really a shortage of people signing up. It's more of, like, if I can get the $7 membership churns down below 9%,
Retention
then
is the problem right now.
yeah. So I mean, one thing that might be a better thing is to have cohorts, like everyone who joins the $7 membership in a week, that I do a call with them and get them all on a Zoom call, and then, like, basically get them fired up to become Bulldogs, and increase the retention that way. I'm already sending personalized videos, which don't seem to matter that much. It's kind of hard to track. They help for conversion, but there's enough people that sign up that have no intention. Even, remember, I said with the $1 barrier, I feel like the 7 is even a little bit too low, because I do have a lot of people that literally just sign up because they can scrape together $7, but they have no real intention of, and they cannot actually afford the monthly $30 a month fee. But
Well, if you think about it, all they did was go into the portal and cancel it. So you didn't really lose anything.
no, I mean, yeah, that's true. I just gained $7 technically, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So in the grand scheme of things, yeah, okay. They would have never been a customer anyways.
that's true. Yeah,
So who cares? You lost a customer who was never going to be a customer.
that's actually a really good way of thinking of it. Yeah. The only thing that they do is sometimes if they're in the Facebook community, they damage the Facebook community. Like we had a guy come in and then he like asked some stupid, like just illiterate question about how to have sex with women. And someone actually emailed me they wanted to cancel their membership when they saw that. Like he was a yearly membership person. And I mean the guy who wanted to cancel based on that was kind of a stupid thing, but it's just, you know, I just don't want like low quality people in there, you know, basically making the whole thing seem low quality. So
Yeah. And I see your point, because it's not, you're not selling a software, you're selling a community. So you don't want to damage the community by doing that.
right, yeah, exactly.
So the thing I was telling like my coaching client to do is to set up, basically send an email to them, tell them that I am going to offer you a $1, $9, $19 trial for the first month, but the only way to get that is to set up a call with me to apply and see if you're a good fit. And I'll set up a call with you. And if you're a good fit, then I'll offer you that. If you're not a good fit, then I'll not, like, then it doesn't work, right? So in his case, because it's a higher ticket price point product, he can be really selective with people he lets in and decide if this person is actually going to work or not.
Which makes sense at that higher price point, but wouldn't work for in this case.
You couldn't go and talk to all these people all the time.
I could have an application process and I could have some screening type of questions in there, but I think what you said was the most right, which is that it doesn't matter if these people churn out if they had no intention of ever, you know, signing of really staying on anyway. So that makes sense. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. I think well, what I was really trying to, you know, hit on with this is the awareness, right? So a lot of people who are YouTube subscribers do not actually know what the membership is. And so by creating this kind of video where it's creating the awareness, then they'll know what it is. Because if they don't know what it is, they don't know they want it, right? So
that's the challenge with selling something that people don't understand the value behind it. Like, that's the amorphous nature of this that makes it difficult for people to buy into it, right?
Yeah, it's the value proposition, right? It's like the you know, the positioning. What do they call it? I just finished that book, Play Bigger, right? And that's really what I'm communicating here. And it's interesting because it's also, to some degree, it's a category. Like the category I'm creating here is this category of itself, of bulldog mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that, like, I'm trying to create this as a category, right? As this is a life philosophy. This is a thing. So that's kind of serving that purpose of that education, because the more people that understand the philosophy and the category, the more people that will convert to it. So a lot of my job is just to educate people on it, and then they eventually will check it out and join.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting sales challenge in some ways, and there's no other way than to test it to see what works and what doesn't work.
Here's some interesting stats, though. Now, this isn't 100% accurate, just because I have, you know, some of the pitching is selling directly through YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
but I have had on the Bulldog Mindset list a total of 8,780 contacts that have been added to the list of emails, and of those, the number that have been members or have signed up for membership is 660.
Oh wow, almost
Yeah.
8%.
Yeah. So so that's a pretty high conversion rate for the list. So I don't really have a conversion problem. Now, like I said, some of it's sold through YouTube, but yeah, but in general, the conversion rate is
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Like I like there's no point in
Well,
like trying to really
actually,
increase
I would say,
conversion.
you could say that conversion is not a problem and retention isn't really that much of a problem, because this is in line with what you're like, the kind of offer in some ways. A churn of this nature with a low price offer will get people churning. So the question really will become how to do higher volumes.
Yeah.
And
Which is a matter of getting more people in the list or more people, right? It's
okay,
not
so
a
what if what if you did not have your list or YouTube channel? How
what
would
would
you
I do?
grow? Yeah, because what I'm thinking, and this is something that has been like on my mind lately, because yesterday I was with my coaching client and his videographer. Well, I was talking to his videographer, and he was like, "Hey man, uh, I was like, how long have you been doing it?" He's like, "Oh, I've been doing it for 4 years."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, how do you market this video service? He's like, "Oh, I just I get to I do email marketing." I'm like, how do you build your email list? He's like, "Oh, I bought the list of realtors in San Diego, the email list of realtors in San Diego. It's a
Right.
list of 18,000 to 20,000 people. And I've been emailing them for the last 3 years or 2 years or something. And I get around 15% open and 1% click through. And I'm like, what the? And he emails them every single week.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like, damn it, that's a list you can buy for $300, $400. And he's actually built a business on that audience. So I think we might be wrong on the audience building game in some ways. In some ways right, in some ways wrong. Um, what I'm what I'm thinking and what's really like been on my mind lately is like, um, building your audience is a small part of the game, but acquiring customers is a much bigger part of the game.
Yeah.
And acquiring
yeah.
customers with a strategy like that, or whatever strategy you have, Dream 100 would be another strategy. Like, how can you acquire customers in bulk rather than your audience that you convert to our customers, which is a slow fucking burn process. Advertising is good. Advertising has its place, but this is like acquiring customers in giant pieces, in almost like, I think this is one example, but the other bigger example is like the Dream 50 or the Dream 100, going after people who have giant audiences
Yeah.
and building, selling through those audiences.
Exactly. Yeah. And no, it's true, because I mean, if you didn't have the list, if you didn't have the audience, right, how do you sell a thing, right? How do normal people actually build businesses and sell things, right?
Yeah.
So one of the main strategies is channel partners.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be affiliate deals, finding other people who have audiences, lists, finding people who have products that you could bundle your product with, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the channel partnership, and that's one way. Another way is through paid advertising, obviously, and it doesn't necessarily mean Facebook ads. It could be traditional media type of advertising as well. Another way is through just ground, pounding the pavement, right?
Yeah.
Is like, which means that you just jump into like forums, communities,
Yeah.
literally like posting fucking things on
Yeah.
on
But
the
if you
street.
think the
Right.
maximum leverage is neither in your audience nor in pounding the pavement. The maximum leverage is in finding the community, finding the owners of the Dream 50, the Dream 100.
Yeah.
That's the maximum leverage strategy. Everything else is fail. Like everything else is like way too slow in comparison to these. Like if you remember, we talk about the idea that people are the greatest hack. This is kind of going back to the um, same philosophy, even in business. You're much better off finding that one person who could send you 100 customers than pounding the pavement for. I think pounding the pavement is the same whether you are in a group, whether you are going to a Facebook group or LinkedIn group and like doing the work, or
Yeah.
you're building your own audience. That's also pounding the pavement in some ways. Building your own audience is still a slow growth process compared to the Dream 50 or the Dream 100 process, which is like fire.
Yeah, I
Advertising
agree.
or partnerships are the fire component. Advertising can be costly to figure out and can be costly to implement, and especially if you don't have a high price point product, may never pan out for your product or service. But partnerships are like freaking nuclear stuff in all of marketing, I believe.
Yeah.
And
No, I agree. I think that's true. Oh, or wait a minute. You could do the most ridiculous strategy and play bigger, which is the thunderclap.
what is
As
that?
if the lightning strike strategy, that was like the most ridiculous part of the book in there. Like a lot of the other advice was great, but the lightning strike thing, that is not a way to, you cannot count on, it's not a strategy. It
Yeah,
is
like getting PR and getting all the people to, yeah. Mm-mm.
yeah, ridiculous.
PR
So
PR is a strategy, but it's not really a dependable thing that you can count on. But partnership has wheels. Like it will fly. You just like what I'm thinking lately. I've been watching a lot of Shark Tank and all that investor shows, Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and all that stuff. And every time I think, okay, what are like these guys would not even invest in what we're trying to do here, building audiences one day at a time, shit
yeah,
like that. It's so fucking slow. It's like, what are you doing? That's like laughable to them. Like, why are you doing this? Is like so not right, building a business in such a slow possible way. How about you go after um like I'm always thinking, okay, what would or lately I've been thinking, okay, what would Mark Cuban say, or what would Kevin O'Leary, or what would any of these guys say, like how what's going on with your business, and you can be like, oh, I've done this, and they're like, dude, get the fuck out of Shark Tank. uh,
right.
um, uh, but we're building a different kind of business, but at the same time, there is, I think, tremendous value on getting out of the marketing game the way we see marketing. Not getting out of it, but thinking ourselves of not as just marketers.
And not content marketers. I think that's
Yeah.
the key thing, because it's like, I think the test, really, like the Shark Tank test, is if I give you money, will it grow? Will you
Mm-hmm.
grow? Right. And so right now it's like the answer is, for my business, is no. If I have $1 million to spend, I will not acquire more customers with that $1 million, right? Like, I mean,
You will not have
yes,
a
I'll,
predictable strategy, is what you're saying.
exactly. But if you have a system, a predictable way of customer acquisition, that where you can literally do a thing and spend money to do that thing, and that will generate more customers, then that's, that's what you need to be able to do it. So that's the thing that's missing. That's where it could be channel partners. It could be investing in the relationships, or just advertising through channel partners, or endorsements, or whatever it is. But it has to be something that's predictable.
Yeah. I think once you have critical mass of qualified customers, as Michael Masterson talks about in Ready, Fire, Aim, whatever that is for your business, then you can invest in other, like, more dependable strategies like ads or something like that to put fire if you want, or hiring a salesperson to do the work that you've been doing so far in terms
Yeah.
of finding the right channel partners or selling to corporates or whatever it is, right? Um, what that example, like the photographer example or the videographer example showed me, is that there are much more powerful ways to uh, set fire to your marketing than just the slow burn audience building strategy that we have deployed quite a bit.
Yeah. 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 I agree. It's true.
It's actually useful until you define a product, until you're clear on what you're going to sell. Maybe it is worth doing this to build the audience, just to figure out what it is you're selling, and just to see if the audience is interested, audience likes this stuff, audience is going to buy that stuff. But once you have it, I think you take it to the next level by deploying one of these, right? Like for for example, the productivity course that we sold with you, initially I I sold it enough to my audience to know it actually works, and I have a very
Right.
low low return rate, like 3% at best on most of our products. So I knew that people actually enjoy this, people like this, and they come back and buy. So
Right.
I had proof that it works. So it was easy for me to be very convinced that if we sell it to your audience, it will work just as well.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that allowed us, to do that sale. But it would have been hard if I had just come in fresh and said, hey, I have this offer. Then you would have been like, dude, you haven't tested it, we don't know if it works, go test it, go do whatever you need to, maybe run ads, go find your audience, go find your product. Like, until you have product market fit, all of these strategies are useless. All
Yeah.
right, you
Yeah.
need to find product market fit. One way to find product market fit is to go through this process of building an audience and building your product. One way is to say, okay, let's just run ads and start to build the product and see if it fits, and you know get people in the door, or whichever way it is. But either ways, once you have product market fit, I think it's partly the strategy should be to go put fire, like light, put fuel to the fire, or light fires, or go explosive. And that, I think the only way to do that, if you can't do ads, is Dream 50, Dream 100.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's not too many other options, right? It's like
Everything
you have
else
to
is
do
slow.
one.
Like
Yeah.
organic is slow as fuck. Um, Slow for like people like us who become impatient at some point, and we're like, this is not as good as we want it to be, and it should be more. Like Dream 50, Dream 100 is almost the only thing I can think of that has explosive growth potential.
Yeah. Well, the problem is like the reason why it doesn't work for content marketing essentially, I think audience building is a great way to start a business and build a business, but the reason why it doesn't work for the scaling is because it does not it does not benefit from the flywheel, right? So if you build an audience and you sell a thing and you make money, you cannot now take that money and use it to fuel, to make it so that you can get the customers faster, because it doesn't, because money does not, like, content creation is a lot of luck. There's no formula. There's not, I can't just spend a bunch of money on content creation and guarantee more traffic, right? It's not a consistent thing. Whereas I can spend more money on ads, I can spend more money, on salespeople acquiring channel partners and and those type of things. But you have to have some way to be able to spend capital in order to accelerate, in order to have a flywheel effect. Otherwise, you don't have a flywheel effect.
I think, yeah. And the key there is, as you said, like spend capital. You could actually spend it on creating uh,
New products to sell to the same customers to some degree, but that has diminishing returns.
uh, It's a yeah. I think content is good till a certain level, after which it should be in like I think setting a goal to build a content machine which will get you a million email subscribers is probably a very bad goal,
Yeah.
because you could spend a ton of time and life to do that compared to building all the different aspects of the business, or building not all the different aspects, but basically uh, going through partnerships to explode your business. The content game is like just the idea that you will have a million subscribers at some point. Yes, you will. A million YouTube subscribers at this rate, someday you will. But was it worth all of this time that you spent getting those million YouTube subscribers?
Well, the question is, see, this is the thing about it. Is it's the long tail, the long burn on it, right? So
Yeah.
the thing is, like, when you get to 1 million subscribers, up to that point, is it worth the time and investment, essentially the resources you poured into it? Perhaps not. But now you've built an asset that continues to gain you customers when you even don't do anything, because you just have like
Until YouTube or Facebook come down and change the rules
yeah,
on,
yeah, if that happens, right?
right?
But
Which happens
it happens.
way more often than we would like to accept.
But you're probably still going to get a large amount of that traffic. You're probably going to still capitalize for a lengthy period of time on that, right?
Yeah.
So
It's I think content marketing is great, but content marketing by itself is not explosive in any way, shape, or form. And not only
right.
that, it's a very slow process. It's a great way to build your like build your credibility in the marketplace, and people know you, and people kind of know you and like you and trust you and all of those things. Um, but it doesn't have the level of it does not have any kind of potential to be explosive and to build $10 million, $100 million brands.
See,
Right.
another possibility is to buy leads, right?
Which is what we
So
were just talking about.
yeah, exactly. That would be another way to do it, is to have a consistent way to buy leads, right? So, like I said, the best example I can think of is actually the business that MJ DeMarco had built, where he was basically selling leads for taxi or limo services, right? So he would gather the leads and then sell those leads. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
that's just, yeah, if you look at it in the grand scheme of business, he's just arbitraging that attention in some ways, taking people from
yeah,
one area to another. I mean, he's buying leads. You can call it ads, or you can, yeah, he's basically paying to acquire users, um, or he's paying to acquire those people who are going to use his services. Um, and so,
but the thing about it is that you can consistently do it. That's the key. You can spend money to acquire leads, right?
or you can consistently hire salespeople to pound the pavement for you, to sell through partnerships or through any like larger opportunities, right?
Yeah,
Rather than selling one-offs with content marketing, the game that we play most of the times.
yeah,
Because inside of content marketing as well, the only way to blow up is to go find partnerships, right?
right, exactly.
The
Yeah,
Dream 50 and the Dream 100 actually work inside the content marketing game just as well. But if you think of the overall business domain, the Dream 50 or Dream 100 again comes into play. And the best way to do it is to just go explode that shit. again by, you could acquire customers, or you could acquire subscribers, or you could acquire whatever kind of person you want through channel partnerships is what we're, I think, kind of figuring out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the key, like what Jay Abram was saying in that book, uh, how to get everything out of, or how to get the most out, how to get out of everything you've got, how to
Get the most out of everything you got.
how to get the most out of everything you've got. He was kind of basically going back to the same idea that your job in some ways as a business is just to acquire customers.
Yeah.
That's it.
It'd be interesting. Here's an interesting way you could do it as well, right? Suppose you had you found like a big website that was in your niche, right? And or even a YouTube channel, right? It would work with either one. And they are, let's say a YouTube channel, they're building a YouTube business. This is what they care about. They're making money from ads and whatever. So then you approach them and you say, hey, look, I will pay you X number of dollars per email address for lead that you get me, and I'll be in charge of getting the leads. I'll give you a landing page. You just talk about this in your videos, or you just put it in your description, and I'll pay you for every lead that I get. See, that's another way you could do it.
Yeah, you could pay them $1 per lead or $2 per lead for that thing as well. If you already, I mean, that would be a good test run to know how you convert on an audience like that.
Yeah.
Or you could just say, I'll sponsor one of your videos. It'll be the same thing, a different angle.
The problem with sponsoring the videos, you have to keep on repeating the thing. That's basically advertising versus having a lead, like a constant lead generation that you're paying for the leads.
Yeah, I think the key, so whichever way we do it, business, like as Jay Abram was saying, you are in business to acquire customers. Many people lose sight of that. He was saying like most people lose sight of that. Most businesses lose sight of the fact that we're just in business to acquire customers. And the other thing he says is your front end sale should never be the one that's going to make you the money.
Right. Yeah.
Front end sale is just to acquire customers. So we're in some ways all in a business to acquire customers. That's what Apple did with iPod.
Right.
The $200 product got people into freaking their $2,000 Mac.
Right.
Right. So especially businesses like ours, we are in the business just to acquire customers, and to be able to acquire customers on the front end, even if it means like break even or loss, because the future is much better.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot more to offer to them in the future. So our job in many ways is to go find customers and not go find audience. Here's the other thing that Jay Abram was saying. We're having this discussion on Jay Abram today, more than we're having a discussion on anything else. He was saying most businesses waste way too much time acquiring 100% of an audience, but only 1% of that audience will actually end up buying.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So instead you should filter more, like rack the shotgun, only appeal to the audience that you're
or find a way to acquire customers
in that audience, like that you're only tapping into a small percentage of the,
or go find your dream 50 to so you can actually acquire customers rather than worry so much about just this and that. And then finally, basically what he was saying is so applicable for the content marketing game. You're basically spending all of this effort to acquire 100 people and only 1 or 2 will ever buy.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to the effort spent where you work with a potential dream 50 person and you get 100 customers or 1,000 customers. That would have meant your list would have to be 10,000 or 20,000 people or 100,000 people to convert at the same level.
Yeah.
And
Well, a lot of businesses do that by, I mean, one alternative is to sell the leads that you can't convert,
yep, that's the other thing
right?
you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to do affiliate promotions where you're right. That's like I was just talking to someone last night who does crypto, like trading signals. He's got like a membership, and I was talking about how one of my coaching clients, Gregory, has a YouTube channel on blockchain,
So
and he's got an email list. But his like he's got like, you know, it's exactly the scenario you're talking about, because he has a certain of his whole list, right? Only a small or a certain percentage of them actually are developers or want to be blockchain developers. The rest of the list is people who are interested in cryptocurrency. So he's never ever going to sell his product to them because they're not developers. They're just interested in the cryptocurrency. That's why they're following him, because they want to know what's going on, and they're traders. They want to trade and make money from cryptocurrency. So there's an opportunity there for him to basically do an affiliate deal to that part of the list, to give them an affiliate, an offering for trading cryptocurrency or buying cryptocurrency, as opposed to becoming a developer. And so that's, you know, because he's acquiring that customer base as well, or that audience as well.
Oh, yeah. So I think there's a very interesting challenge in some ways for the content marketing world that we live in, or the Gary V's of the world and all those people who are like, hey, let's just go create more content. Yes, there is value in that, but I think there is a ceiling to that, and a ceiling very unfortunately a very real ceiling for most people.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the strategy of trying to be well, it depends on how big your space is. Like, I mean, eventually I think that you can succeed with that strategy. But the problem is it's like trying to get in the NBA, right? The one who really does well with that is the person who becomes the star, right? So you can make a YouTube channel, and if you put in the work and you have a good niche, and you're willing to be consistent, in 3 to 5 years, you will build enough of a following, doesn't matter who you are, pretty much, to have a reasonable business that you can make some money and sell some things. I haven't seen anyone who hasn't been able to make that work.
Yeah, and that's the
but to be a Graham Stephan, right? That's really what you want to do, because if you do that, then you can make millions of dollars in a year. But in order to do that, that's like a 1%, less than 1% of all the people that make it that far, right? It's like you can't really engineer that so much. Maybe you can. I mean, but realistically, you can't engineer that. It's like trying to get into the NBA.
Yeah, it's not
Otherwise, you're capped.
it's
Yeah.
not a strategy. It's
Yeah.
more of it has major limitations, and you're handicapped in so many different ways. You're basically hoping that be YouTube will be around for as long as you need to, and they will continue to help your business for as long as you need to, and all of that stuff, as well as, like, there's way too many variables to consider that as a real move, a real strategic long-term play. It's a more of a short-term, like, whatever happens, let's gamble, see
Yeah.
if you can make it happen, and if not, well, then fuck. But the bigger challenge in some ways, yeah, none of this.
See, there's one more strategy we haven't talked about though, right? But it only applies to a certain type of business. If you become a platform, if you are a platform, then the other way to acquire customers is where you don't have to do any work at all. It's where the users of your platform acquire customers for you. To some degree, it's a network effect, but let's take, for example, Amazon, right? Amazon is a platform. Let's say the Kindle platform for selling, for publishing, independent publishing, right? All these people who jump on there and make books, and those people create the customer base for Amazon. They acquire customers for Amazon automatically by their own advertising, by them trying to sell their books and advertising, and they bring people to Amazon, right? If you look at all the platforms that exist out there, that's how it works. The App Store,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, now we're getting in the technology game, and that's
Yeah.
like a different game altogether.
But you can create platforms that don't just exist from a technological standpoint, right? So you could almost say that, like, for example, someone who's doing it in more similar to our space would be like Tony Robbins, right? So his coaching program is a platform, really. What it is because people essentially, right, they sign up. He acquires the customers that are the coaches. People want to be coaches because they can make money, so they're actually applying to be coaches, and then they're bringing him customers, the people that they coach, right? They are bringing Tony Robbins customers by, the more coaches that he has, the more evangelists essentially they are for the brand and selling. So that's it. I mean, ClickFunnels is another great one. ClickFunnels is a platform. ClickFunnels, how does ClickFunnels acquire customers? Not really through direct advertising. I mean, they do some of it, of course, but the way that they create customers is because all the people who use ClickFunnels, they want to make money from ClickFunnels, so they advertise ClickFunnels, right, through their affiliate promotions. So because of that platform, so having a platform is probably
Yeah.
that's the most powerful that you can.
ClickFunnels is a software. The platform part Tony Robbins has been able to create after grinding out 40 years of on the content game in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Of delivering content and then building a brand to be able to do that. So both of them are great plays, but at the same time, I think there is inherent problems with the content first game.
Yeah.
Speed is the biggest problem.
Well, even platforms like, if you think about it, right? Like we were talking about the books and, well, like Pluralsight or companies like that, where, like, take Pluralsight. Pluralsight was a good platform. Why did they succeed so much? Well, because they basically brought famous authors onto their platform, and then those famous authors had audiences, and those audiences came to the platform, right? So if you can acquire talent, if you can create content that is created by people who have large audiences, they will bring the customers to you.
Yes, that is definitely a big play. Or if you have a team creating content. The thing, okay, I think I'm kind of like, as I'm thinking about this, what it's ultimately boiling down to in my mind is that the personality play is a dangerous game. It's a very limited game,
Yeah.
right? And it's also a slow burn game, and it's a dangerous game. So more, um, it is a non-personality game. The bigger the upside is, and the faster you can set. Well, okay, so let's put it this way: the personality game can get you to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, something like that, pretty
Right.
rapidly. Like selling yourself can get you to that point rapidly, but after that, you basically plateaued for the rest of your life.
Yep. This is
Wow.
okay. Somehow, I have to. We have 42 people watching this live stream right now.
All right. Well, welcome, guys.
That's kind of crazy. I don't know what happened. That's crazy. Oh, because it's on Bulldog Mindset right now. Haha. I picked the wrong thing. It's not going live on Entre Programmers. This is why.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
People are getting to watch some business knowledge today.
Okay. Well, this is my mistake, but hey, you guys get to learn the underpinnings. How do we acquire customers, and what we do every week. You can watch us on Entre Programmers now.
Yeah,
Free
if you want to
advertisement,
go
so,
behind the scenes of
yeah.
how a business is built, especially an online business is built, and the pains of day-to-day pains of running an online business, then you should tune in every week on
Yeah.
Entre Programmers, and it's also on the podcast, so check that out as well. And yeah, so okay, so as we were just kind of thinking through this, I as we're trying to figure out, okay, we can do the content game, it has limitations. So the game to play is the Dream 50 or the Dream 100 game.
So here's what actually. Well, I mean, I agree, but here's actually someone actually made a pretty good point, right? Which is they said that content is required because that gives you the credibility. You won't attract high quality without having high credibility.
I
Which I
actually used
think,
to believe that. I,
yeah,
I I used to think that was the case, but what I'm finding now is that with limited amount of content and high quality testimonials, real testimonials of people who have seen results from your stuff,
mm,
you'd be surprised how far you will buy stuff because of that, because of testimonials, because of people who have bought, who have used your product or service and found it to be useful, and also because you have some content that showcases what you do, but you don't need tremendous content to build credibility.
yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting.
I mean,
I guess it,
if you
it
look
kind
at
of depends on what you're selling, though, right?
Brandon
But
Bouchards of the world, let's just go hardcore on the personality side. Like you're selling expertise, right? Brandon Bouchard, he didn't really have that much of a content game. Initially, he was just whole hog on partnerships. That's how he built his initial business, through partnerships. And um, if you consider any of these, um, we live in the content world so much in the YouTube and the podcast world that we think that that is the only way people gain credibility in the space.
yeah, it's because we live in that world. I agree.
But if you buy, like if you're going to a doctor is a bad example, but even a realtor, you will look at the testimonials more than you will look at their YouTube channel. Or that's also a bad example because we're talking service.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do find a real estate agent that has a good YouTube channel, I mean, that's like clearly sets them apart,
Yeah.
right? I've
Would you
I've
rather
bought
go
services based on that.
Sure. Would you rather go with someone who has a great YouTube channel or who has great testimonials and reviews?
It depends on the trust level of the testimonials and
Okay.
reviews. That's
Now we are
always
actually
questionable,
having a conversation,
right?
right? We're pitching them. We're pitching them, or we're putting both of these against each other. So we actually see the value in both of them, right? It's not clear cut anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at, okay, so what are examples that exist in the in the bigger world where um where that's
I mean,
true.
okay,
Well,
classic example, Marie Forleo of this world. She has what, 400,000 subscribers. Her content is as basic personal development as it gets,
hmm,
right? And she has probably a $30 million business today. But she grew
yeah,
it on the back of partnerships back in the day. It wasn't because she had tremendously valuable content with like, and she had 400,000, 500,000 subscribers today. She had when she was doing $10 million in sales, she had maybe 20, 30, 40, 50,000 YouTube subscribers.
That's actually a really good point, because I know of her and I know of her product, but I've never seen any of her content. I know she's made some content, but I don't know if, but I would, I by brand, I know that it's quality what she produces, right? Her
Yeah.
product is of quality, so
Yeah.
it has a
Because she
reputation.
has been associated with the likes of Oprah and Tony and all those things. But not only that, before that, how did she build all of that? Mostly through these partnerships, not
Yeah,
because she had massive following. She might
yeah,
have had a massive email list, but not because she had a massive content play.
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, it was mostly through networking, through channel partners. That's yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, with Bulldog Mindset that my focus is, it's not like, it's not necessarily the building the business aspect of it. I mean, that's certainly part of it, but it's more about doing what I want to do, and the mission behind Bulldog Mindset. So that's always been kind of the thing that, well, that's why I'm still keeping it as a personal brand, and why I'm the
Sure.
spokesperson is because it's my personal brand.
And at
It's
the same time,
what I
like
do.
the people who
Otherwise,
are getting the most value from it are the people who are buying your membership, not the people who are just consuming for free most of the times.
yeah, that's true.
So
The
it's almost
members.
your moral obligation if you want to further this movement, you must sell, and you must enroll people through selling, because if they don't buy, they're never gonna get the real value out of it.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's the key, is that, but I have to create enough content where they realize that there's more value in the membership and joining the community, because if they don't have a taste of the content, well, and also the trust factor. Like for me, the trust factor is really high. It has to be really high, because essentially my promise is really high, right? Because I'm promising you, I'm basically promising you girls, money, and health, right? Fitness, like, and in order for that to be a realistic promise, you have to see that from me, and you have to believe it, which it's kind of hard to believe, right? But if I'm here on YouTube every day and you can see that I'm doing the hard things, right? That I'm running marathons, that I am staying in shape, that the content that I'm giving is solid advice, that transform your life, then those claims are more believable versus. So I think in that case, right, if I were focused on one specific thing, I think it would be less of that necessary. But I don't know. I feel like I need to have that element of it for sure. I don't
How
know.
much is the other question? How much content is actually required to build the credibility that you're saying, and how much of it comes from people who are getting the benefits from it? I
That's a
would
good point.
I
Yeah.
would bet that if you had 20 testimonials of people who were getting life-changing benefits from what you're doing, that would equal out everything that you are doing as a person.
I have more than 20. I've got
Right.
like 100
But if you
testimonials.
had those, like if people
They're
watched,
on this. Yeah. If you go to the Bulldog Mindset sales page, go check it out.
yeah,
Check out how many testimonials I have on there, like
yeah,
before and afters of people, fitness, and
yeah,
all kinds of emails that people have sent. So
yeah,
I've got the testimonials. I mean, and I think that is a lot what does sell the membership, when people go to the page and look at
yeah,
it, because they see those testimonials.
yeah.
And
So in some ways, like the slow burn of building more traffic is just a small part of the whole equation of growing the business dramatically. Um, like the content game is a slow burn game, and it's going to grow the business slowly. Like when I just launched the entrepreneurship book summaries, right? It's and now I'm going to be launching the marketing and branding book summaries in a month from now. Um, I basically showcased what you know 5 to 10 of our book summaries on our channel and on our sales page, And for me, that was the way for people to know, is this something that I want to invest in or not?
Right.
And letting them be the judge at that point if this is valuable enough for them to want a lot more of this. Um, and to go back to like how we were able to sell the first time we did the productivity book summaries, partly from the fact that it, there were samples, and partly from the fact that you believed in the products, or you
Right.
believed in me, you believed in 2000 books, you believed in the summaries, and you believed that would make life changing, for it would be life changing for anyone who bought productivity book summaries from us. And that transferred over, the trust transferred over in some ways to people buying that stuff. So it was that trust you can develop by you yourself doing the work. But in that case, there was some trust because I probably had like 15, 20,000 YouTube subscribers at the time, right? On 2000 Books channel.
Yeah.
But that's not what any of them bought. None of them bought the fact that I have a YouTube channel with 20,000 subscribers and I have all of these great videos on different books and productivity books and mental toughness books and all of those things. What they bought was the fact that you trusted the product.
Which
And
was built off of my content and trust building with the audience, though.
right.
That's
But
oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, which is true. Someone has to build the trust in the content. Someone does, right?
well,
That's
yes and no.
key.
Someone doesn't have to build the content, someone has to build trust.
Yeah, and the way to do it for a big audience is to create content.
That's one way. But the other way is if someone has already acquired a customer, now they are much more likely to trust them, and they will buy other things from that person who, if they're trusting them, then you get the referral from them.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
to kind of like put it all together, what we're saying is yes, but all of that effort for, like, when you sold that product, it's got sold not because I had a great YouTube channel or a podcast. Nobody freaking gave a shit about it.
yeah. I mean, that's an interesting point. Like, had you not had the content yourself, would it
But
matter as a
if I
transfer of
had
trust?
the course, if I had the book summaries
Hmm.
and the samples and everything else as you had seen in this course area, would you still have promoted it? And if I had said that I have already sold to a certain audience. So there is a little bit of that, like all of these things do help,
Yeah.
but we're talking about 10x growth, I think.
I mean, it depends on what kind of business you're building, though. I have to say though that like building a celebrity type of business, you have to have content in it, and that's how you build trust. Because again, when you think about bulldog mindset, right? What are people really buying? They're buying that they want
You,
to. They're buying me. They want to be me in some aspect, some version of themselves that is me, right? Like
yeah,
as weird as that sounds,
yeah.
and that's impossible to sell without the content. The
Hmm.
content is key. Then they're also buying into a vision, a bigger vision, which I'm not saying that you can't create that vision. You have to create the vision somehow, right? Even you look at a company like Apple. How did Apple create the vision of Apple, right? This is comes back to the Simon Sinek, The Power of Why, right? Which they all of these companies, like Power of Why companies, they essentially created the vision by by content. Now they did it through some of it through paid content marketing, but it's still like that's how they like Apple's keynote, right? Steve Jobs, right? He was the figure. Without Steve Jobs, Apple, even with their ingenuity, would not have been as successful as they were with the iPhone and any of those product lines. It was Steve Jobs' personality and his vision and his ability to inspire people, which actually created the fanboy otherwise they would just be another competing product, and they'd probably do okay with the product, but it wouldn't be revolutionary. It wouldn't be something that people line up to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the one thing, is like, you're right in the sense that you have to use channel partners, like to scale, but you still have to have I feel like you still have to have, whether it's you, it doesn't have to be you, but you have to have content that is creating the vision. Even someone like Salesforce, right? Looking at the book, whatchamacallit,
Play bigger.
Thinking, Play Bigger, right? What's his name? CEO of Salesforce.
Mark Benioff.
Yeah, Mark Benioff. He basically started creating that whole vision around the end of software, the death of software, right? That was his whole thing, and that's why Salesforce blew up to what it was, because he created that vision. So however you're going to create the vision, you have to create the vision.
Yes, I mean, he created a movement. He was waging a war. By the way, if you like this book, you should definitely check out Behind the Cloud by Mark Benioff, which is basically his lessons on building Salesforce. And I've summarized in the entrepreneurship book summary pack. So you might want to take a look at it. But the thing that Benioff did was he basically went and waged a war against software, and he would just go and speak to audiences about it, or he would go into PR and talk about it. He was much more strategic about how he was using his voice to create a movement in some ways. Yes, you're right that was a piece of content. That was a small piece of content here and there. And Steve Jobs' piece of content were more like his keynote presentations on the Apple Amphitheater, at the Apple Amphitheater when he launched iPhone and iPod and the MacBook Air and all of those things. Yes, they're small pieces of content. The question is, if they're on a sliding scale of content, how much content actually do you really need to be in the customer acquisition game? Because at some point, content can actually become, you become a content business.
Right. Well, remember, what's his name? He's not around that much anymore, but there was a guy in the entrepreneurial space. Shit, I can't remember his name. He was from New York. He had this really thick New York accent. Derek Halpert. Derek.
Yeah.
Right. Remember him? Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the key things that
I'm sure if he was listening, he would be like, "What do you think? I'm dead. I'm still talking about this shit."
Yeah, he lost his but yeah, but one of the key things that he said, which was actually pretty damn accurate, which answers the question that you said, was he was basically, I remember hearing him talk about spending 20% of the time creating the content, mm-hmm. and 80% of the time marketing that content, right? Mm-hmm. Getting it out. And that's the answer. Is like, it's not that you have to have a lot of content. You just have to have good content, and you have to get more reach on that content, right? The more that you put out that content and actually get the most mileage out of the content you create, right? Because it doesn't matter. So think of it, right? So let's take this whole YouTube channel of Bulldog Mindset, right? I put out a lot of different content and pieces, 4 videos a week or whatever, but really how much of it is necessary to build the trust where people who listen to the content want to see the vision, right? Essentially, because what I'm trying to do with all the content is to get people to see the vision of becoming a bulldog and what that means, right?
Yeah.
It's probably can be handled in 12 or so videos, right? Or maybe even less. And if those videos can be promoted out to the right people, then they will understand the message. It doesn't take hundreds of videos to do that. So
yeah, you can actually you can get the right influence with targeted content, with short pieces of content, to get people to believe in you rather than having to have thousands of pieces of content to do that job for you. So that's part of that thing as well. I think what we're confusing is content as a way to build trust and content as a way to build audience. Two
Well,
different.
the reason why that it becomes that you have to keep on creating new content is because you're doing it to be able to get more exposure again, because if you create content and that content only has a life of exposure, of organic exposure, right?
Mhm.
And that when that lifespan dies, then you have to create new content in order to get that organic exposure to reach new people again, unless you're going to use the content and pay to advertise the content out there, right? So that's sort of like the branding move, right? If you do so, Ty Lopez did that, right? He was able to get, if you're willing to put enough of an effort behind it where people start talking about you and your content and watching your content for the spectacle of something that to see it, then you
Mhm.
succeed there. But if you don't go that far, then you have to keep on creating new content in order to get new exposure. Otherwise, how else do you get new exposure to your content?
Yeah. So again, I mean, are we most of the times people are thinking of content as the way to build trust, the way to build exposure, the way to build audience, the way to educate, all of that, which is true. It's very, very, very true for all of that. But for fast growth, you should not depend on content to build audience, is what I think we're getting to, right? Because content to build audience can be a slow burn process compared to your dream 50, your dream 100, your channel partners, your partners who can get you the right customers rather quickly.
So, okay, so taking that framework into account, let's say that you were building a business today and you were not going to employ a content marketing strategy to build an audience, what would you do? Let's say that, and take something that would be a product that would be traditionally marketed through an audience like Bulldog Mindset or 2000, because like say that you're selling, I don't know, let's say your business is is that you're selling a program for people to become really good at a certain style of martial arts.
Yeah. Um, you would use limited content to acquire the audio, acquire customers to understand if your product actually has legs, if
Mm-hmm.
the product is good, if people like your stuff. But once you have that, you would go out and try to sell it to as many channel partners as possible. So it's a uh, you would grow faster, you would grow your business faster if you were able to sell that product to existing people who have audiences in that space rather than try to build your own audience from scratch. Yes, you can build that audience and try to see if this product is actually useful and people enjoy it and people are actually getting great results from it. If people are getting great results from what you're doing, you have real testimonials, it actually shows that it works. Now you can take it to another person on YouTube who has maybe 10 times your viewers, but doesn't really sell well or doesn't know how to sell or any of that, and or is open. There's so many different angles, not just YouTube. Maybe someone who's a podcaster who talks about martial art, maybe someone who's a blogger who talks about martial art, maybe someone who's in the, maybe it's a gym where you sell this membership or any other thing. There's those partnerships can get you a lot.
Well, okay, so there's two problems with it, I would see. One of them is the problem of, let's say you create your YouTube channel for your martial arts package that you're selling and you create 10 videos. You can't test it because you're not really going to get views on that because it's not enough to get traction. And maybe if you did get some, let's say you have like 5 subscribers on your channel, then you go to a channel partner who has a big audience and you're like, hey, I have this martial arts thing, I have a bunch of testimonials. They're going to look at your YouTube channel, they're going to see 5 subscribers and 10 videos, and they're probably not going to want to work with you, at least not as an affiliate partner. Then comes the situation, right? The second problem I see with it is that, remember that conundrum between affiliate versus advertising, right?
Mhm.
There's that, the risk and the upside, who bears it, right? An affiliate deal, if I do an affiliate deal with you and you're promoting my products as an affiliate, I have zero risk, and I have I guess we both have a very high upside. If you take on if you take it on as advertising, or actually I have risk there, right? Because I might get nothing from it. If you take it on as advertising, sorry, the other way, you have risk if I do an affiliate deal with you, because you may be not monetizing your list appropriately you may be killing goodwill with your list and not actually making any money, right? If I do paid advertising with you, I'm taking on the risk, but I have the upside. So if you take a big enough channel partner where it would be profitable for them, it would be more profitable for you to just pay for straight advertising with that channel partner, because you would benefit from all of the upside.
Yeah,
So,
you can structure it in various different ways if you believe in your product. The question is, do you have product market fit?
well, the
Right?
problem is, if you buy advertising on an affiliate partner, someone who has an audience, will that advertising be profitable? Probably not on just a front end offer, right?
Hmm.
There's no difference. So it comes down to there not really being a difference between that or buying Facebook ads or YouTube ads at that point, right? Because ultimately there's a customer cost per acquisition, right? And does it really, like, if you're actually profitable, does it matter if you're paying? I mean, maybe you find a channel partner where you're paying for advertising on their email newsletter or their platform, where you're able to acquire customers for $1 a lead, but on Facebook you can get them for $1.50. I don't know, but maybe you have higher quality people there, so maybe. But
Way
then it
higher
just
quality.
becomes, but it's still then it just becomes a matter of advertising, right? So you go to podcasts, you go and you advertise on the podcasts, right? The opposite side of it. So I mean, that's something that you could do right now and maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're thinking this out, but as I'm thinking this out, maybe that is actually where the effort should be focused, is finding companies and podcasts that align, that have the audience that you want, and they're just paying to advertise on there.
Or not even advertising, getting on the show. Like what we're talking about is, instead of having to do a direct sale to the audience,
uh
right? You can pitch and get in front of their audience as an interview, as a
well
podcast, as a blog guest post, right? Whatever it is, hey, let me write this blog post on. What there, even the content game can be exploded with channel partners, and even the customer acquisition game can be exploded with channel partners. With the Dream 50 strategy. Dream 50 strategy can be deployed if you want to just go after like 50 podcasts in your niche and like say, hey, I do this. I would love to talk about how to build a bulldog mindset. Uh, if you want to talk about it, let me know. And I'd love to come and share some of my thoughts on becoming an alpha man, or becoming, managing real estate, like how to build a real estate portfolio to become a bulldog in finances or whatever it is. And that gives you a lot of trusted audience coming back to you, um, trusted,
but
potentially buying audience coming back to you.
but you realize, see, we come full circle here, because if you jump on the podcast circuit, right, let's say you go and do 100 podcasts, you are creating content.
Yeah, but not, that's the biggest, the whole, we are coming full circle on the concept of leverage,
That's true. You're creating content that is leveraged,
right?
highly
When
leveraged,
you're
right?
creating your own content, the point of leverage is so small until it gets giant, at which point it starts to become highly leveraged piece of content, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But content created on other people's platforms is extremely leveraged because they've done all the work to get to a certain state, and now you're using that to go to the next state, right? So in some ways, there is huge power in these partnerships, whichever way you want to exploit them, whichever way you want to quote unquote exploit them, or whichever way you want to use them to the benefit of both. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's not one person winning or one person losing. It's like both of you guys are winning. Right?
Yeah.
They are creating content for their community. You're creating content to develop the trust, and you are all over. You're everywhere now in the mind of the listener, right? You're on all of these podcasts or all of these YouTube channels or whatever it is, and you have massive trust now when they come to buy from you. But more importantly, now you have a bigger audience. So I think we're talking leverage. We're talking exponential leverage rather than linear growth. Because
Yeah.
with your content, until it catches fire, it's a slow linear process that never ends almost.
Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, it makes sense. I think ultimately the answer lies in doing both of the things, right? You have to build the content, and you have to find the partners that you can leverage that content. That's, I think ultimately that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Um,
But
and
focusing more on
the thing
leverage would
is,
be,
focusing more on that side, the 80-20 rule that you were talking about
yeah,
with Derek Halpern, like focusing more on spreading that damn thing that you already know rather than creating more of it, because it's very difficult from your own efforts to keep reaching new audiences.
right, yeah,
If the goal is to reach new audiences on content created on your own channel, just it's like 1, 10, 15, 20, 100, 200 people a day. It's slow, right?
yeah,
While content that goes on another person's channel where you get 5,000 people listening, like authors come to my podcast, right? 2000
right,
Books podcast, they all come because they want to be heard on, they have tremendous content,
yeah,
but
that's true.
they don't have any scale like I do. Most of them don't have the scale on a YouTube channel or on a podcast that I have. So they
Exactly,
come, they're
yeah,
like, hey, if I am on your podcast, I spend 1 hour almost talking about the book, advertising. It's almost an advertisement, because no matter how good, how amazing that interview, actually, the more amazing the interview is, the more it will sell the book.
right, yeah,
The more high quality the content the author produces in that episode, the more the book will sell. And the author, like if they can get 10,000 listens on the 2000 Books podcast, they already got their, instead of writing a blog post which may never reach 10,000 people, and even if they did, it wouldn't reach a 10,000 new people, which is
yeah.
extremely hard to do, right? But if they get on my podcast or my YouTube channel, they will just, in an hour, they get all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the flip side of it, is that in an hour, like, okay, so getting on your podcast, they're exposed to your audience. The amount of people who will, from one content exposure from them on your podcast, will become customers or be converted or even subscribe to their philosophy is small.
It's going to be small.
Whereas the investment in building your own platform, your own content platform, is 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 a lot, but the people that follow you there are much more likely to become customers, right? Like, so for example, like we are just starting off with on this call for
Mm-hmm.
Bulldog Mindset, right? Of my list of like 8,600 people who've signed up, almost 8% of them have bought the membership. That's a significant number, right? The more that, I mean, if that number holds, then getting reach there is probably more than 20 times as effective as getting reach on someone else's platform, right? So
Yes and no,
I would
but
need 20 times the audience, right? Because if I was on, let's say, a podcast and I talked about Bulldog Mindset, and then at the end I talked about the membership, or made some kind of pitch, probably to get even a 0.5% conversion rate would be great, right? So it's probably 20 times. So you see what I'm saying? Like that's the reason why it doesn't, even though yes, you're saving a lot of time and you're reaching a lot more people, unless you have a really large, so the answer to that question is this, it's right, like, so, and you see this happen with people like Jay Shetty, and people that come up really fast, is they basically what they do is they have, okay, so you've got, I mean, who watches Joe Rogan podcast or listens to Joe Rogan podcast, and that overlaps with people who listen to Tim Ferriss, and overlaps with, you know, there's this bunch of like overlaps of people who are in multiple audiences, and they get on all of those podcasts, and so now they greatly increase their conversion rate and exposure, because if you listen to me one time on your podcast or whatever, it doesn't have as big an impact. But if you hear this guy on like 4 or 5 podcasts that you listen to, or you see him on a YouTube channel, right? That repeat exposure. And this is exactly the thing that I was teaching in the brand building when I was teaching how to market yourself as a software developer. It's the multiple points. And so at that point, like, if you can do it at that level, then you gain almost the network effect. Like, you gain the leverage, and you're able to actually gain the brand recognition, because having the brand recognition is what's powerful there. Doing it once is not effective.
What's interesting, what you're saying there is, ultimately, it's not so much that you need 100 channel partners to make it all work. 100 Dream 100, you don't really need Dream 100 to make it all work. There will be like 5% of them that will actually take you to the moon. The remaining 95 will be average at best, right?
Exactly.
But the 5% will literally take you to the moon, will literally skyrocket. Like, there is one client, I believe there is one person out there who can sell 1,000 Bulldog memberships.
Yeah, there probably is, right? So
in your Dream 50, in the community, you know, there's probably one person who can literally double or even sell 500 memberships and a go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that is true. Yep.
Right. 500 is actually not a large number if you think of the large scheme of business, when people have millions of subscribers and like ridiculous sized email lists. Like, for that person to send you 500 customers isn't really that big a deal of given the scope and the size of their business. And you probably know people like that. Like, look at what Noah Kagan does with AppSumo. You get on AppSumo, your business, like if you're a software business, you're gonna have enough customers to figure out what to do next with that money now. You will get the CMQC, the critical mass of qualified customers, and now you can, you know, plot your next move with the money you've made and find out how to sell better stuff or higher quality product, or make the product better, or improve the, like, create a higher end product offering, or whatever it is.
That's funny. AppSumo just emailed me they want to do a partnership with me for Simple Programmer. So that's funny that you mentioned that. So,
they wanna what?
They want to do a partnership. They want me to promote AppSumo as an affiliate for their, or they want to,
How much will they pay out for that?
100%. They're just so that, which is kind of funny, because it's interesting that you're talking about this, because they will basically give you 100% on new AppSumo customer referral and 20% on returning customer referral. So they are trying to do the CMQC. Ready, fire, aim. Exactly. Yep. CMQC.
They already have CMQC, but they realize a much bigger game here.
Yeah.
The first acquisition point is the most crucial acquisition point, and they're willing to do anything for that acquisition point. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Acquiring a customer is 15 times more valuable than acquiring a subscriber. Probably 15 times is what Jay Abraham was saying, but I believe it's much more, because, well, in your case it is, because 6 out of 100 become your customers. So it's 15x more or less, right? 15%. Now, 15 times of 6.66 is 100. So if you think about it, they know the game they're in. They're in the game to acquire customers, not worrying about the front-end profit. AppSumo doesn't really need to make any content. All they do is, let's go acquire channel partners and let's go sell more. That's how Noah Kagan built his list, right? Go acquire channel partners. Go find channel partners who have lists, who want to sell something, and merge.
Right.
And then business is probably worth $10, $20 million today.
It built his list because he was able to get all those, and people will promote it if they're getting 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah.
of a no-brainer.
I mean, AppSimo is just one example of like, if you think about,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how many they sell. They probably sell what, 10,000 of these things every time they run a promotion, right?
Yeah.
I would say even more. Because
The only problem though with their difference is that, well, actually no, it isn't. It's because you can look at it and say, well, they acquire a customer once and then they sell the customer multiple times because they are always promoting, that's their business model. But a membership model is actually very similar in the sense that you can pay someone the full, essentially the full month of the membership, the initial purchase price at 100%, and then you're getting the
you
rest
might
of
have to
the
actually sell. I mean, you might, if you do an affiliate deal in this case, they'll probably want 50% of recurring, because recurring is much harder to sell.
Yeah, well, what a lot of companies do, so Bluehost, for example, right, like hosting companies, they're in a similar situation. Their churn rate is extremely low though, because they're providing a service. Like if you have your website on a site, you don't just say, I'm just going to disconnect it, right? So, but they pay a pretty high bounty, a large upfront payment for a customer that's acquired. So
Yeah. In your case, it's more of a, like you could do that, but the problem is, anyone who's running an affiliate deal knows that this is a harder sell because it's a community sell, not a software sell.
exactly,
Right.
yeah.
So
That's
the understanding they already have going in is that we're actually assuming the lifetime value of the customer is more like $200, and we're splitting the $200, not the $30 on the front end, which would be hard to sell.
yeah.
Right. But if you sold the vision of a recurring monthly payment to someone, they might be, that might be way more exciting to those people. To
Yeah.
the channel partners to sell your membership through their partnerships, through their channels.
It'd be pretty damn hard for someone to sell a Bulldog Mindset membership though, right? Because it's so much of it is riding on the trust and the community aspect of it. That's the thing. It's like,
well,
I don't know.
They potentially could or could not. They could actually send traffic to your quiz and see what happens.
That's sending traffic to the quiz, basically getting people into. That's where I think the move for me, if I wanted to expand like that, would be to just pay people who have large audiences to basically promote my content, not to promote the actual product, but to get people into the audience, into the community.
If you are going to send cold traffic to a Facebook ad, to a webinar, why wouldn't this convert? This actually would convert better because there's warmth to that audience. This should convert way better than a cold audience.
But see, the webinar is the content. So yes, like if you went through a webinar, right? Because in a webinar, you're giving someone about an hour of content of telling who you are and
right. So if you have a converting webinar that converts on warm audiences, you can just say, hey, I have a webinar sequence. It starts with a quiz and then takes them to a webinar sequence or whatever it is. And let's see what happens.
Yeah. The big problem though is like you've got to get people really bought into the idea, right, for Bulldog Mindset. They have to understand it. I don't know. I mean, I think most of okay, so think of it this way, right? I think a lot of the product life cycle for Bulldog Mindset, like the customer life cycle, looks like people who have been, maybe they've been watching my videos for like a year before they actually are enough to buy it, and they're bought into the community and they understand why it's valuable to them and they're getting enough value, and then they buy it and then they stay as members, right? Whereas I'm benefiting from people that have, like, the stuff I'm creating now is not going to pay off until a year from now, right? I don't know. I just don't think that you
well,
can
then
really...
How do you expect your webinar to convert?
I guess we'll see. I don't know if it. I don't know if it will. I
Hmm.
don't know if that is the best plan. I mean, ultimately, I think that the webinar will work well for people who
Ultimately, you do
are.
need a sales strategy, which people, once they come across for like a series of videos or whatever it is, you are able to convert them. Because if you can't, you're just stuck on this YouTube treadmill.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like the way that I want to run the business is that I want to give people value first, and through that value, they decide that they want to be bulldogs and join the community, and it's all kind of transparent, and you see what you see is what you get. That's the way that I want to run the business.
But
So
there are millions of people out there who would love to get the value that you provide, but you are not exposing those people to your stuff. And those people are someone else's audience today. And you can never get to them if you just decide that I'm just going to sell them through 1 year of content. Like that's just, I mean, anyone who's selling membership has probably figured out how to sell it faster than that cycle.
yeah, I mean, I guess if it doesn't, as long as it doesn't take away from the like the purity of the brand of like what I'm trying to do. That I think
Why would it,
that's the biggest
why?
thing.
Okay, so and I'm not even talking about Bulldog anymore. I'm just thinking out
Right.
loud. If anyone has a community of men and they go to another person who has a community of men and they are talking about it and they're talking about what you do and they're very impressed with your stuff and they send people to you, why would that dilute anything you do? Why all the question really like we're getting to, I guess, in some ways is, do you need so much content to
Right.
build that trust factor and credibility factor with that person to actually be able to want to become a bulldog? Or do you need very specific trust pointers, testimonials, pieces of information that actually trigger that trust in that person to know that, yes, this is my guy. He's talking about, it's like you read a book, you read that book in 6 hours,
Mhm.
and that book has basically done all the selling of that concept to you to the point where you're a convert or not a convert. You're buying that idea, you're not buying that idea in that 6 hour window of time. You're not really spending years to figure out if this is a concept that actually resonates with you. The 4 hour
Yeah.
work week, I read it 2 hours later. I was like, damn, this is fucking legit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a book can do that for sure, right? That because that's a lot of content that you're creating. So, but I think, I don't know, like the bigger part of it for me is like why I created Bulldog Mindset, which was not necessarily just to build the business side of it. It's because I like creating the content, because I want to
And
create the content,
and
because I benefit the people that don't buy the membership. I mean, arguably the people who buy the membership benefit the most, right? Because those are the people that actually commit, that get the community, that have the bigger
I think
transformation.
creating
But
content, you can, you do it in like 3 to 4 hours in a week,
right.
even less time than that.
Yeah, so there's no point in trying to reduce that. That doesn't make any
Right.
sense.
So creating content is really almost like you don't even think of it as work anymore. That's just part of what you do. The
Right.
bigger thing is, will that grow at the level at which you want to grow your message? Because if you
That
are
can't
sharing
be,
the
yeah.
message, if you want to share that message with the world, then wouldn't you want millions of people be exposed to it rather than just the people who just organically find you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's really the answer. The answer is that you you know is that I like creating the content. I I make an impact by creating that content, but my impact is limited to the people who discover it organically, which doesn't preclude me from creating the content. I still create the content. But that cannot be my only way of growing. That has to be, the content. To me, the content will always be the primary thing in the business. There will be nothing more. I wouldn't I wouldn't even be interested in the business or sell the business, or sell the product if it were only the product and I wasn't creating the content. If that makes sense, right? Because I have no like interest in. I would do a much more profitable company than selling,
Maybe you
something
would
that's
write
really
books.
hard to sell, right?
Or maybe you would
Well,
write books on the topic that would bring people back into this funnel.
yeah,
Something that
but
would expose to millions of people as well. But
yeah,
I mean, that's
so
just
yeah, content will always be king for me for this business because that's what I want to do, and that's the impact that I want to make, and the legacy.
But that's
I want
10%
to
of the
leave.
time you actually use
Right,
of
but
any given week to do it.
right,
And I think to make this discussion a little more open in some ways, you enjoy doing content, you like content,
right.
and that's a great thing. But at the same time, is this content getting you all the leverage it could have gotten?
No, it
Is
definitely,
your time for this content getting you all the leverage? Like, it is giving you fulfillment, right? It's giving you the joy of doing what you do. But if we're talking about growing and finding that audience, is it doing that for you? And I'm actually, as much as I'm asking that question to you, I'm actually more asking that question to me because I'm thinking the same thing. Like, yes, I create the content, but more importantly, it needs to be content for channel partners that gives tremendous leverage and brings a lot more value to the channel partners and also growth in some ways.
Well, the biggest thing, okay, because that is a good. So the whole purpose of Bulldog Mindset is to reach as many people as possible and changing their belief systems, right? To basically convert, like if I had to summarize, I would say it'd be to convert people from the victim mindset to the Bulldog mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So however I can reach to have the biggest reach is always been the mission, not to make the biggest amount of money, making the biggest reach. I mean, ultimately by having a big reach, you'll make a lot of money, of course, but by having the biggest reach possible, that's the goal, right? So that's not opposed to what you're saying, right? So the answer then is to create, well, okay, so it has to have the two elements, right? The one element has, like, okay, let's say you have a huge reach, but it's vapid. There's nothing there. There's not the content. There's not the, right? I want to reach as many people with the content as possible. So the content has to exist. So that has to be there. But then the content is not the best way to get the best reach.
Exactly. So content is great, but content is not enough.
It's a combination of the two. And that's the key is like right now the content is great and I'm able to get a reach. I mean, a lot of people would say it's a large reach, but it's not a large reach, not compared to what it could be. And so that's the element that's missing is, and I think that's where it comes back to, like you said, like going full circle back to channel partners and finding people with large audiences and, and going and reaching, getting on, like, imagine like, so like if I could get on, let's say Joe Rogan's podcast or Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory, right? That would be massive. It's exactly my audience. It's the people that I need to reach. And I'm giving them the content that is of highly, because those are very valuable content shows. Then they come back and they consume more of the content, whether they even become members or not. I've achieved the mission of expanding the reach and changing people's mindsets. That's the key. And that's, again, the most effective way to do that is, like you said, it is the leverage through other platforms.
So content is useful, but it's useful, but not enough. It's necessary, but not enough condition to grow and to affect.
Exactly.
Like, to grow, you can define growth whichever way you want, whether you define it by the amount of money, number of customers, number of subscribers on YouTube channel, number of, like, whatever you want to define.
Well, it's by the impact. It's by the actual.
How do you quantify it? Is a different, much.
It's hard. It's by the actual mindsets that have been changed. The people that have been actually.
How do you quantify that?
The only way to really quantify it well, the best way to quantify it, it's not absolute, is people who become members in the membership,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Because
then we're back to the same
those,
thing.
yeah, because the people that have become members in the membership are the people who have really bought into the mindset, who have changed the mindset, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not going to cover everyone. Maybe some people have changed their mindset, but they haven't bought the membership. But that's a good metric because, right?
So if that is the metric, then that is a very simple metric. How many members, and can we increase the number of members by going to the outside world rather than just being inside the like the Bulldog Mindset YouTube channel, right?
Okay, modification though. It would be number of members that stick in the membership for a length of time.
Sure, 6 months, whatever.
Okay,
right?
because if you just convert a bunch of people and they just sign up, they're not necessarily haven't shifted their mindset. If they're, you know what I mean? Like if they stay for 6 months, then they probably have, right?
So you
they've had an impact.
basically you're saying lifetime value of a customer will tell you what exactly it's going on. Unless it is $180, it's not working or it's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
In some ways. So so going back to that question, yes, you love content creation, but couldn't you create that content for other people's channels, for channel partners, getting on other people's podcasts or YouTube channels or whatever it is? Because that could have more leverage than just creating content on your own channel.
Yeah.
It would take effort to reach out to all of these people, and that's why you would need some sort of a manager, affiliate manager, or someone to do this work for you, to reach out to thousands of YouTube channels or podcasts and say, okay, we got this. Would love to share the knowledge, the wisdom, whatever it is, and see how that explodes this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's the next phase of growth. I think phase 1 right now is finishing out the product line so that I can have the resources to be able to do it, right? So that would be bring on the business tier membership at $100 a month, the mastermind at 1,000, and bring coaching up to 2,500. So that will free up my time, and then it'll make it so that I can hire someone who is basically their full-time job is to go and almost be a booker, basically a booking agent. That's what they would be, as a booking agent. They would be booking me onto podcasts, onto YouTube channels, promoting the things so that I can create content for those.
So I will put this question to you then.
That's phase 2.
If you were using all of your funds, you wouldn't have to worry. Like if you were using all the funds raised from the business, you could probably
do a booking agent now.
Yeah.
The only problem though is that this is the key. So phase 1 has to be done first, because I have to be involved in creating phase 1, and phase 2 also requires my involvement, even to a larger degree. And so if I were to do a podcast blitz right now, let's say, then yes, ultimately people could become members and the business could expand by the membership growing, but those other things would not get created because I wouldn't have the time, because I would like to book up as much of my time creating content for other people.
You're still spending 4 hours a week creating content.
No, it'll be more. Well, it'll be more. I'd be creating the content for the channel as well as creating content for other people.
Well,
right?
What if you were just creating content 3 hours for others and 1 hour for yourself? You would still be able to do this.
No, I wouldn't want to do that anyway, and it wouldn't even make sense that it would need to be a much larger scale than that. Ideally, I would create 4 hours of content for myself, for my channel, and then create 10 hours of content for other people's platforms per week, right? That's, if you have someone that's...
Is it that binary?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to move on to the like, you don't want to expand something until you have, from a business standpoint now, right? Now talking from a business standpoint, the business decision makes more sense to have the full value chain in place before you blitz market and try to reach more people, right? that's why that has to come first. But I agree. I think that's phase 2, and the same thing we were talking about at the gym on Wednesday. It's also phase 2 for you, right?
Yep,
Right now,
exactly.
you're in phase 1, and you're building out the content or the product, the library, right? And you continue to do that, and then once you have that set up, then your phase 2 looks exactly the same as mine, which is to do a blitz of marketing, of
Yeah.
reaching out to channel partners and getting your content out in their audiences.
Yeah, you're
So-
right about that part, because I'm kind of waiting it out. I have an overdue on EO Fire podcast that I could go on, but I'm not taking up that opportunity because I want even more books in our database. Right now we have, like, in our membership site, we have around 250 book summaries on 5 different topics. I want to get to 10, like 500 books at that point. Basically all the topics an entrepreneur needs
Yeah.
to learn, whether it's mental toughness, productivity, social skills, startup, entrepreneurship, marketing, branding, sales, success mindset. We'll have the greatest books on all of those topics covered by the end of this year. And then it's like going into a massive promotion phase and selling through that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We should probably wrap it up here. I got to get some work done.
Sure about that?
Apparently.
All right.
All right. Do you want to do thoughts for the week? I don't know what happened to Chuck. Hopefully he's okay. Financial.
Yeah. Well, I think he's okay, at least from that last week's discussion. I would say I would go back to the original conversation that has sparked so many of these discussions, which is that people are the greatest hack. And
Yeah.
this is just one offshoot of that conversation, that people are indeed the greatest hack. And in this case, what we're talking about is partnerships to grow, whether your impact or reach or business or whatever you want to call it. People and relationships will get you there much faster and much better than your own grind. Your own grind is important, but that is like next level stuff. That is that's the highest leverage point. People are the highest leverage point in life.
Yep.
This is just one example of many ways in which people can change your life. So that's why people should sign up for Bulldog Mindset and find good people there.
It's true. That's the thing that I send every video when I do the Bonjoros to everyone. By the way, they sent me a personal letter because I've done over 250 Bonjoros now. But I tell them that people are the greatest hack, that the reason why, or what they should do when they join the membership is join the Facebook group, because the number one factor that will influence who you become in life is who you're around. That's the truth. That's the real, that, I mean, that of all the things I can tell a new member, I find that the most valuable thing to tell them, because that is the most important. Because it's great that, all the videos, all the content in the Bulldog Mindset membership is great, but ultimately, like, the thing that's really going to actually impact people's lives is being in the environment, being in the membership, being around the people. That's what makes the bigger difference than any other thing. Because all the knowledge is out there. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you actually, it's just like when you join a group fitness program, right? Do you bust your ass in a group fitness program? You bet you do. Right. So that's why. So
yeah, it works every single time. People will change your life more than anything else.
Yeah. Let's see. Mine is actually a completely different. So I'm going to say, track everything that you reasonably can, and don't stick your head in the sand just because that's easier. So I started this week, I started tracking my food on MyFitnessPal, right? And I had avoided doing this in the past because I'm too smart for tracking my food. I know what I'm doing, right? And it's a waste of time, and I don't want to spend the time doing it. But the act of tracking things makes behavior change, right? And so I've been eating clean, super clean, and actually seeing the impact of it. Whereas when I wasn't tracking it, it's much easier to like slip off and to not do the right thing. And so it's like, and then when I really rationalize, like, how long does it really take me to track the food? Well, I'm eating foods that I can track easier, which is a behavior change for the tracking. But realistically, the tracking takes like 5 minutes a day. So, you're doing all this work. You're going to the gym, spending 2 hours lifting weights. You're like fasting, you're running mile. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff, and then the 5 minutes is actually the thing that you're skipping. That's actually the thing that's actually going to make the difference. You know what I mean? I mean, not that you don't need those other things, but that's what I realized was I was just making justifications for myself to keep my head in the sand because I don't want to do it. It's not that I don't know it's effective. So there's no reason to not do it, even if it's just an estimate, right? Even if I don't know, like say I went to a restaurant and ate, I could still guesstimate what the calories or what the kind of food was and track it. So anyway, so tracking everything that you reasonably can is what you should do, not bury your head in the sand and make an excuse. So
yeah, I like it. Tracking, I mean, just like what I was able to do with the chest press, right? Just
exactly, yeah.
tracking that one variable made all the difference. Just knowing that I need to improve that and constantly working on it and not worrying about it. Just knowing that I'm tracking that metric makes all the difference.
Yeah. All right. I guess everyone got to see the since I broadcasted on the wrong channel, that's fine. But you guys can join us every week on Friday on the Entre Programmers channel if you want to hear all the secrets of what we're doing. So, all right, I'll see you at the gym.
All right, man. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.